The initial big attack where Stats came out super far ahead. ByuL really made this a fight somehow when we felt it shouldn't have been. And Stats, I guess he can be happy about this victory, but will he really look at this game as one of his finest? I'm not so sure, because ByuL made that so close.
How do you, like, imagine you're that guy on Team Liquid who writes the report about this game. Where do you start, Todd? Like, there are like 7 chapters to this game. There are so many different scenarios that could have played out. In the end, Stats, by sitting back for the majority of this game, and one moment looking very broke and only having 7 carriers left, well, those 7 carriers, they never died. They never even took pain damage, and they just melted these Hydras. Storms as well, helping out so incredibly much. What a game.
The ground army did well here for Stats. I think these Immortals, like, sure, they were going to deal with the Ultras very well, but then after that, there were Archons at the front, they were shooting at these Hydralisks, and if you look at the pure number of Hydralisks against carriers, it felt like Stats should have lost because it was 54-7, but yeah. His ground army was so strong in escorting these carriers that they were never going to really be touched anyway.
Yep, and the Storms as well. Storms really connected, and there were no more Vipers. I mean, we were kind of talking about something else, and that's absolutely my bad, but when he got the snipe on the Hive, that was so big, because that meant no more Vipers, and no more Vipers meant, well, it's pure Hydra now against carriers and Storm. Good luck, have fun, Zerg.
You know what ByuL needed? 20 spores.
No,
I told you.
Especially with the entire map covered in creep. Like, I think it's hard if you don't have the creep spread that you're looking for, but he pretty much had 70%.
I think at some point, what did he spike at? It was like 4,000 to 6,000 minerals.
Yeah, he had over 5,000.
And he was going to mine way more if he had kept that gold base as well. So maybe what he needed, maybe not. We'll never know. I mean, for now, Stats equalizes the score in a great game.
You know what I love most about StarCraft, Todd, is that there is always a what if and a but, you know. There's always so many different scenarios. That's so fun to talk about. That's why StarCraft is such a fun game to watch and commentate and play, because you know 1 or 2 decisions can absolutely change the outcome of a game. Well, this game had like 7 or 8 big moments, which would have completely changed, I think, the outcome of the game. Either way, we're all tied up into the semifinals of the Intel Extreme Masters, and Game 3 is coming up. Here we go for Game 3 of the semi-finals of the Intel Extreme Masters, live from South Korea. Looking at the main base of perhaps the best Protoss in the world, it's Stats.
His opponents playing as the Blue Zerg, it's of course ByuL.
What a run so far for this guy, man. I really did not look at ByuL as one of the guys that was going to make it to the semi-finals and even put up one hell of a fight against, once again, arguably the best Protoss in the world right now.
He took it round by round and practiced a lot for this after qualifying, like he mentioned. Stats actually not going to go for an early scout here. Goes for the gateway down the ramp, but for now it's going to be a delayed one if even...
Oh, he has a probe already.
Actually, I kind of missed that.
No worries.
Okay, that was really surprising.
Oh, if he gets the block, that's great. No, he's actually, you know, he's worried right now. He's like, are you 12 pulling me? I should probably make sure that you're not 12 pulling
on maps like this, where there is a gold base as well, like, you need to be on top of your scouting. Like, we saw that in Game 1, Stats definitely didn't want to leave anything to chance, so he made sure that he got across the map, double-checked the gold base, knew exactly what he was going to be up against, and this time around is going to be the exact same thing happening. He knows that obviously he was pulled into hatchery, and now I'm pretty sure he's going to be keeping an eye on where that extra base goes down in a second.
And the most important thing, of course, here is that as a Protoss player, you identify the timing of the extractors. And as Stats saw that the gas is going to be very, very late, so he really doesn't have to worry that much. Yes, there is a pull before the hatch. I mean, best case scenario for Stats is that ByuL makes a couple of Zerglings that, you know, make it to the other side of the map when the Zealot is done. He's not making a Zealot though yet. And then he can just go for the wall off there. With 1 extra pylon, he will have a perfect wall off if he just puts 1 Zealot next to the gateway.
When Stats played against Luzier on this map earlier in the tournament, he went for a 7 Adepts Resonating Glaives attack into double Stargate Phoenix, and he was going to go into carriers, but he overcommitted a little bit on the aggression, and Luzier, after holding so comfortably, just made a ton of units, went across the map, counter-attacked, and killed him. just finished him right off the bat with a lot of units and an all-in. So I'm pretty sure he's going to want to look out to not repeat the same mistake here against a ByuL, who definitely also is capable of mixing a lot of units and going for the kill.
I like that you mentioned that. Overgrowth is one of these maps, guys, that as a Protoss player, if you make it to the other side of the map, but you lose a few too many units, well, counterattacks are going to be very, very hard to deal with. So if we saw Stats be as passive as he was on Habitation Station, he's probably not going to be too crazy on Overgrowth either.
I like that you mentioned that. We complete each other.
No, it's a very valid point, because there are a lot of maps where as a Zerg, even if you clean up a bunch of Protoss units, it's important you don't overextend and throw away the lead you just created. We're finally probably going to see the Dark Templar opening. The Dark Templar with the Warp Prism, double Archon. It's something we haven't seen yet 3 games into this series, and you know, I never thought I'd say it, but I almost started to miss it.
I did miss it. I love that play. One thing about Stats when he does that opener is that a lot of the time he follows it up with 3 Immortals and charge lots out of multiple gateways and goes for an all-in, even with some sentries, 4 Guardian Shields and Force Fields. And almost every time that I've seen him do it, it's worked. Actually, every time that I've seen him do it, I think he might have worked. So,
it's so
very, very dangerous build, which obviously ByuL is aware of.
He's getting 3 extra gateways, by the way, Todd. That's 1 more gateway. And I feel, I mean, of course.
He was already on 2?
No, he has 1, and now he's more.
Yeah, but you need to warp in 4 DTs, right?
Yeah, but I guess you can do 2 and then 2 again. But I guess he just wants to warp in 4.
Yeah, no, I thought you warp in 4 from the start. Now, again, like the big question, are we going to see Immortals behind this and an all-in, which on this map I think can be great, especially if you're able to do some damage at first, which against someone as good as ByuL, like, if I look at this roach run timing on the production tab, it should be on time for him to get enough. But you never know, sometimes they make a few roaches too little, and Zergs end up taking a little bit too much damage. We'll see.
Earlier this tournament, we did see him defend this build once very well against Classic on Vani Research. The only thing he lost was the Roach Warren, which put him 16 workers ahead. Yeah. And in the end, he was able to secure victory in that game with Lurkers. So if you are a big fan of the Lurker, there's still a good chance that we might see it in action. As the Dark Shrine finishes up, we are going to see the 4 Dark Templars at once being warped in. And Zergling is just standing there. He's like, yep, I know what you're doing. So we're probably just going to see these Dark Templars morph into Archons immediately. And right now, it's just important for ByuL that he doesn't take too much damage of the double Archon.
It's going to be a 3rd base, actually. No Immortal all-in on 2 bases. Wish charge behind this, out of Stats, choosing to take the safer approach, so to speak, here on Overgrowth. I think he might, like, it's just so anticipated, right? Yep. If you put yourself in ByuL's shoes, you see that it's a Dark Templar opener, probably like a double Archon drop. Behind this, you're like, he's going to do it again, right? He's going to go Immortals and all-in. What's the best thing you can do? Make a ton of units. So I think Stats is counting on that. He's playing to his image. He's starting a 3rd base that I'm not sure will be spotted on time. Like, actually, Overlord is around the area right now.
Man, he's getting so many gateways starts, and he's not building any workers. He could
he could still do the attack.
Wow,
46 probes.
He's going up to 8 gateways, but he doesn't have any extra upgrade. I'm a tiny bit surprised.
I think, the 3rd base was spotted, right? So it's like a double fake, basically.
Yep.
Stats hopes that ByuL will see, actually pushing back the creep as well is so important what he's doing right now. Like, he knows he can't fly in there and kill drones. Because obviously ByuL's ready with the Queens and Roaches.
It's good scouting as well. He drops a Changeling too, and he's going to be able to spot the majority of the gateway. So far, perfect defense, by the way, by ByuL of this Dark Templar opening. And Charge start is just now starting. That's super late.
And ByuL from now needs to make only units. And sometimes I've seen Zerg still dying to this kind of attack, even when making only units. He's on 61 drones. It might feel like a lot, but army supply-wise, he's actually doing all right. I wonder if Stats realize that ByuL, having scouted that, will be ready, and just goes into probes from there and plays a little bit more standard. He's definitely capable of doing that.
I mean, his building work is now Spire going down. That's a brilliant tech choice, actually, for ByuL, because Stats has no idea what's happening. He does have Sentry, so maybe Hallucinated Phoenix can scout it, but he's going Archons, Immortals, and Charge, guys. None of these things, well, Archons can be decent, but normally none of it is very, very good against Mutas, especially because Archons are very slow as well.
Usually, what happens if you see that your opponent is going Spire there is that you go across the map and you go for the attack before they can make Mutas. You reinforce with Stalkers if you need to. With Guardian Shield and Archons, they're obviously going to do great against Mutas, but the Lynx, Roach, potential Ravagers, and in particular Banelings, is what you need to worry about on the ground.
I love this, by the way, by ByuL. I think it's very, very smart. He's getting a couple of Ravagers. This attack, however, is also very well timed. Charge is about to finish up. He's going to get 4 Archons and 3 Immortals against mostly Roaches, Lings, and Ravagers. I mean, the Banelings are going to need some phenomenal connections, but I don't think there is Baneling speed, though.
It's a huge commitment to move in that position. He cannot recall out of there. ByuL's going to move forward, loot some buys, and then pull back. Make sure that the Banelings can get some good connections, but the Immortals are being left untouched here for now.
Yeah, but the Banelings actually did get good connections on the Zealot. The Zealot count not that high. The 8 extra Zealots, however, are going to make a big difference. 1 or 2 Archons fell, and the other 2 Archons are low on HP, but they are not dying yet. And army supply, it's in favor of ByuL, but this Protoss army looks very, very powerful. He picks up the Archons as well, didn't want to lose them.
ByuL needs to be careful, a couple force fields are available. He's doing that just right here from now, kiting all the way back, making sure he can pick off some of these units and not lose too many roaches. But more reinforcements are gonna come in so fast from stats.
Yeah, sick micro though by ByuL. He really got a lot of Zealots there for free, even though he corrosive balled one of his own roaches. I think he's doing a really good job in dancing back and forth. Nice pickup micro there by Stats. It's a close battle, but I really like the way this is going for our Zerg.
A lot of drones have already died here. Stats might be starting to think about evacuating, maybe pick up some of these Immortals, 2 of them, and then pull back. The Warp Prism is going to get targeted by ByuL. He's in enough though. 1 or 2 is missing.
Oh, he does get the Warp Prism. There's a good couple of Zealots. The Immortals are still in the back as well. Though look at these Zealots going to town. Where are these extra Zerg units? There are no reinforcements here for Stats. But ByuL has to be careful. Barriers, so many barriers have been activated, by the way. 1 Immortal falls, the second one falls. What a sickly close fight here, Todd.
Can this build actually lose? I feel like it works every single time Stats throws it in, and it wasn't even the all-in version here. Actually, the delayed one with more energy on the sentries.
If he had a second Prism, Todd, this game would have been over. If he had the backup Prism. These Zealots will get picked up as well, so in the end, ByuL defense.
Yeah.
And don't forget, that's a very expensive Protoss army to lose, right? Those were Archons, those were Immortals.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I love it as well.
Contamination here.
And the Mutas right now on the way, and I don't think that Stats has any idea, and he lost all the sentries. I think these Mutas are great, Todd. I love it.
There's no
super
blink
good.
on the way, and right now, Stats is focused on countering a full ground army. Sure, he gets the Templar Archive, but even if he gets the Archons here, what are they going to do? They can't
They're too
even
slow.
go inside of those buildings here to go from one base to another and defend against Mutalisk. It's also like a huge amount of Mutas. I think it was like 7 at first and then maybe 2 more. So it's going to be a good Muta count here to go from one base to another and maybe force Stats to go all in.
He's going to find the Prism immediately as well. He doesn't have to worry about this Prism, and right now Stats knows that he is in a lot of trouble. Yes, Archons are good in the straight-up fight, but these Mutas ain't gonna fight the Archons now. They're gonna go for the probes, and in the end, if they have to come back, they will come back, but this is going to be great. Sick play, sick game by ByuL. Probably the best game of the tournament so far from him, Todd. What a sick hold.
He's playing super impressive. Gonna get right on top of these Stalkers here, take them out. I'm gonna have to pull back here against the Overcharge. I love that, sending the Zealots across the map to try and get some drones. But I think Stats will go all in here in a second. He's getting a Prism, he's getting +1. He's just going to mass units across the map and go for the kill. Because at home, he doesn't have the capability to defend against these Mutas flying all around the place.
Yep, the longer this goes on, if Stats would just sit back and defend forever, well, he's getting blinked now. His +1 is finishing up. Maybe he's going to try to go up to 4 bases, but this is basically Stats saying, all right, you have full map control for the next 3-4 minutes, right? Take the 5th base, take the gold, and make as many units as you want, spread as much creep as you want, because I am not going to attack you, I'm going to sit back. And it seems actually thought like that is going to be his choice for now.
Keep in mind, ByuL has no upgrade. He's now finally getting an Evo, so I guess if Stats started working more on his upgrades, like he's a tier 3 Protoss, so to speak, with the Templar Archives right now. And Wish Charge, then into Blink and Archons. Whereas Zergs, he's stuck on lair tech units. There's not going to be any Ultras or Vipers made anytime soon. So if Stats able to get a much bigger army there and maybe equal those numbers of ByuL, he might be able to do very well in some of these fights.
Yep. I mean, I still like, I hate this position as a Protoss player. Like, we can directly communicate with the observer, but if you would take a look at the vision of the Protoss now, you see nothing, Todd. You see absolutely nothing. That observer is the only map vision that he has. It's nothing but darkness everywhere. And it's just scary to play StarCraft like that, when you have no map presence, when you don't know where these Mutas are. And look at the supply. I mean, ByuL just maxed out during all of this. 200 supply, he's maxed out.
And he's going to build up a bank quite quickly as well, now working on taking that gold base. I'm surprised Stats hasn't attacked. I really thought he was just going to kind of mass you don't need Blink as well, right? Like, unless you're going to play super thirdly, maybe going to Stargates later. Just get a bunch of Stalkers, Archons, Zealots, go for the attack, make sure you split against the Banelings. Muta's actually being sacrificed here for the most part to make sure they snipe that War Prism.
Yeah, I think the main reason, Todd, why he didn't want to attack before he had Blink is because he was worried about potential base trades, right? Like, he saw nothing. He had no map vision. So what if he runs across the map and then suddenly 100 Zerglings show up at his side of the map, and then Mutas as well?
And you up in DTs. There would be no overseer. I have foreseen.
All right, well, the Protoss army is powerful. We do have Baneling speed, right? Yes, correct. Baneling speed is ready for this fight as well. So the Archons, the positioning of the Archons is going to be incredibly important. Upgrades-wise, it's at least looking good for stats with that +2 finishing up in the near future.
What a set of games here.
Yeah.
With the previous one that we had on Habitation Station, these two really going at it.
I love this. Is of course the only series that will happen today at the Index 3 Masters. Tomorrow the final will happen. It's going to be Innovation versus obviously the winner of this series. I thought beginning of the day I was like, man, I'm worried that I'm going to be cursed again. I'm going to show up, it's going to be 20 minutes of action and I'm done. And I don't like that, Johan, because I want to see long games, I want to see long series. And so far, well, we're getting treated to some real PvZ magic over here.
Some good later games, maxed out armies from both players. With stats still being very patient. That Baneling counts is super scary. Like, his split is going to have to be on point.
I like how ByuL has a single Zergling on the left top side. Like,
when you have this, like, you think about Banelings and the counter, right? It's Archons, but then Archons mean you need to get a lot of Zealots on the ground. Banelings deal really well with huge clump of Zealots. They just kind of blow them up, so...
I think these fights, Todd, are always very hard to predict and call. Upgrades are going to matter, but I mean, I'm sure we all remember the game Elase's Showtime, right, on Frozen Temple, where it really felt that Showtime had a good army, and then the Banelings just did not stop enrolling. This Archon count, however, is ridiculous. So maybe Stats has bought enough time, and maybe the fact that this is a maxed out Protoss with this many Archons, you know, Todd, I know you're a big fan of Plasma Shield's upgrade. I would love to see that being next on the production tab.
Yeah, that could have been really nice.
Yeah.
Landing some of these corrosive bile here. Oh, actually landing big time on some of these Zealots. That was very nice.
The Remax is going to be very scary though for Stats to deal with. I mean, yes, Stats is getting close to max out as well. Lurkadan, Ultralisk Cavern, and Great Aspire all at once.
Oh, these Banelings.
Did I see that right, Todd?
Yeah, just getting a little bit of everything, keeping all these options open. Stats finally ready to go for the fight there. Wow, it's so hard to attack into a ramp against these many Ravagers attacking from afar, and then the threat of those Banelings plus the bile together. Landing big time of some of these units.
Yep, I mean, the Protoss army is moving forward. Not sure where the War Prism is, because we could really use a couple of Zealots in the mix now as well. The Ravages are gone. Most of the Banelings are gone. 80 Zerglings, but 80 Zerglings is not enough. It's going to be a big Hydralisk Remax.
And ByuL at the same time is doing a run by into that fourth. Actually, no, these were the Mutas into that fourth base. He forgot about these links on the top left-hand side. That could have been huge if he had done a lot of economic damage, but right now he's scrambling to stay alive, trying to make as many units as he can.
Stats was down 70 supply at one point. ByuL was maxed out. Stats was hovering around 135. But right now it seems like he hit a very, very good timing right before a Great Aspire, right before potentially a lot of Hydralisk.
Those links are coming all the way back, but they were so far away out on the map.
Still too many Archons alive as well. A couple of Hydras on the right side might be able to pick off one. Maybe they can get the Prism, but this Protoss army, Todd, I think there is too much Protoss here.
Yeah, there's no stopping this army. GG. And Stats goes up 2-1 after some extremely competitive and close games here in this series.
This series is absolute madness, Johan. I feel like all of the games so far that we've seen have played out in a very strange way. Normally we see an opening and we're like, oh god, it's going to be very hard for one player to turn it around. These games have nothing but turnarounds. Game 1, you know, fantastic start for Stats, somehow loses. Game 2, awful start for Stats, somehow wins. And Game 3, well, we saw it all, right? Like a clutch hold by ByuL, an absolutely fantastic hold. Got himself in a great position, but then Stats being able to hang in there, not take too much damage of the Mutas, playing it safe, slow and steady, got up to an invincible force, and he attacked right before the Great Aspire, right before the Hydralisk. Sick. I don't even know what to say.
I really thought the Mutas were going to be able to do more, but I don't know. It feels like ByuL didn't really commit enough to them. Like, obviously, I think Mothership Core was covering that third base, so he had to go between the main and natural, which is what he did, but I don't know, I'm a little bit surprised at the way this went. Maybe a couple mistakes, but they definitely did so many things right at the same time that it's hard to say anything as these two.
Well said, Jon. I'm surprised as well. We're going to head to a very small break, and after that, we'll be back with Game 4 between Stats and ByuL.